We did it, fam. We made it. 6 in a row. Yeah, 6 in a row. Yeah. Time to get that nap in. Time to get that rest in. Time to get that snooze in. Before we head out to drive. Probably wake up by 12 and head out. Let's Good morning. It is currently 10:58 a.m. and I think I'm gonna head out already. I'm not like sleepy or trying to crave extra sleep right now. And I kind of got inadvertently woken up. Mainly because the grocery just got delivered. Oh, I forgot to. Oops. Hold up, be right back. Might look weird because the windows are open. Oh. Let's go. Honestly, probably because I'm excited to go home. Plus, I'm hungry. But usually I try to save that meal for once I get to San Antonio. Let's go. It tells me I'll reach Junction in 2 hours without having to charge. So I'm gonna think to trust it. Without having to extra charge means save time. If it would tell me to go charge, then it would have had led me to go charge first. But that's not what it did. Alright. According to this plan, if I leave now and still hit the Jollibee, it was projecting 6:54 p.m. What would I say about that? Well, but the only thing is, maybe I'd take like a 30-minute break, maybe at least an hour break, and who knows, maybe I might even need to fit in a nap just in case I actually do get sleepy. But from now, I usually try not to use my energy drink early in the morning. Just so it's like I'm just using pure energy in the morning rather than using the caffeine early and then a crash, or I don't know. But let's go. Because honestly, I don't feel like trying to force myself to go back to sleep for one more hour all the way to 12. So might as well start driving. Na 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 na. Yeah, yeah. Alright. Let's go. Yup. Stay back, you're good. You're good right there, bro. I'm always a little bit, I don't know if the word is apprehensive or kind of just like, not unsure, but to trust Tesla 100% and take me to the next spot with only 12%, 11% left on the tank kind of has me at like, oh my gosh, should I trust it? But, you know, sometimes you have to trust it. You have to. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I trust in God, yeah. Woo! Hey, my run, I have come to the conclusion that, you know, at the end of the day, my runs are never going to be as clean or as crazy as these Instagram pros, bro. Like, they be hitting their runs with the professional mic on the piano, and I'm just like, bro, maybe someday I'll get there. I want to be like y'all when I grow up someday, so I must still try hitting mine as best as I can. So, well, this is the first time driving back home in the Tesla, so the first of anything always kind of keeps you on your toes, you know. I am super hungry though already, but knowing that I'm usually getting a meal in at Jollibee, I usually try not to stack up my calories right before. But just in case, my stash right here is still available. So usually I use that when I need energy, when I want to pair it up with my energy drink. That's usually what I'm opting for. So, woo! Honestly, despite fatigue, tiredness, whatever it may be, I'm just kind of excited to just be heading home. So that's why I was more excited to just start driving instead of just waiting around trying to sleep some more. You know what I'm saying? I trust in God. Yeah. Woo! So, it was a beautiful stretch of work, though. Don't get me wrong. A lot of different things learned, for sure. We learned a lot about sleeping and camping in a Tesla. We finished up Song of Solomon, which was really nice. All of that imagery between two beloveds. We ended with James 3, which was nice, talking about wisdom and something probably I'll be able to dive into starting in James 1 when I get to the Jollibee. Is probably what I'll plan to do. One thing I had to do as well is usually for these, for my work days, you know, so far in Abilene, I've been tying up my laces, right? So the story about what shoes I actually wear to work dates back all the way to the first travel contract. I wouldn't say it's the first, but I would say it's the travel contract that brought me back to, let's just call it Rochester. It was Rochester. So it was the contract right after I broke my foot. So again, it's my whole story has been a crazy kind of like up and down of like me working, again having like 2 jobs at one point at home. I think I was gonna double up and like lock in, get like 4 to 5 days a week, because we had most recently just moved to this place called Tres Lagos, where we were gonna put my son to school. He was gonna start pre-K, right? We were like, yo, if we're gonna put him into school, we want him to go into IDEA. That's what it's called, IDEA. So we were like, yes, let's go into this neighborhood that has the IDEA school inside of it. So it's like, yo, that's a vibe. Like, you go to the school that's inside your own neighborhood. So we did that. At the time, we already had 1 mortgage, and that's why I prepared by having 2 jobs to be able to make enough to be able to cover not only the one mortgage, but the second mortgage on a lease or a rent, just to get my son into school. So basically we do that. We move successfully. I think I was able to pull, was it out of my 401k, basically the money that I needed to put into the down, or maybe it was we sold the truck. Anyways, we sold the truck, we got some cash on hand. It's everything we needed. So that's why I was like, thank God you provided again. It was everything you needed. I think it was the truck. We sold the truck, and we got all the cash we needed to go into this property. We move into this property, and when we're signing up my son for school, we find out that they are not doing pre-K starting this year. And I was just like, bro, we did this whole move just to try to prepare and get him into pre-K, and now we're not going into pre-K. So I was like, yo, in a way, that's the way I felt like God has been speaking to me, is like these types of instances where we make a move and then he's like, you know what? Nope, no pre-K here. So obviously then that means he's not going to school, right? So we had to think like, well, what's the plan? But along the way, we were going to plan to probably homeschool at this point. And then there was a basketball tourney coming up. So then I was like, after this basketball tourney, whatever it may be, we'll still choose to stay here in Tres Lagos. And then I'm going to double up and go like 4 or 5 work days in a week so that we could start earning some extra, even on top of the 2 mortgages. So that's the way I was kind of planning things out, right? So here comes the tourney. I'm in the tourney. It's the second day of the tourney. And basically on one of the games, I think it was even one of our first games in the morning of a Sunday morning, I was off ball, bro. And that's why this is pretty ridiculous. But at the same time, thank God for everything, right? Because that was purposeful too. So anyways, off ball, I do a spin move off ball. I kind of tweak my foot a little bit, and I'm like, ooh. Anyways, I'm like, play it off. You know how you kind of twist your ankle sometime a little bit, and you're like, yeah, let me just keep playing through it. Play through it. So I did. But for some reason, like 4 to 5 plays later, even though I'm choosing to play through it like I usually do, like I usually try to play through pain, at this point, the pain was not getting any better. Like if it was a little twisted, tweaked ankle, you could kind of feel like, oh, it's getting better. I can actually run full force. I was not able to play full force. So I sit down, I sub out, whatever, and then I'm like, I'm ready to get back in. So I come back in and I'm like, bro, this foot is not getting better. So at the end of the day, I finished the game. I'm surprised that even with the hurt foot, I think I hit a 3, probably the best I did. And I'm just like, bro, what is going on? So we finished the game. We lost the game. Probably thank God we lost the game, because if not, I would have probably still tried to play. Anyways, hurt my foot. At the end of the day, lost the tourney, right? We lost the game. But then my friends, they were like, yo, let's still eat out. And I'm just like, bro, I don't feel good. Like my foot hurts, bro. Like I don't understand why it hurts this much. So instead of going out wherever they ended up going, I'm just like, yo, I gotta go home, bro. Like for some reason, I'm still limping. It hurts like crazy. And I don't know, this feels weird, bro. Like this is like the weirdest ankle twist I've ever felt in my life. Because like in my mind, I'm thinking like, if I broke something, I wouldn't even be able to hop around, right? I was just thinking major pain. Major pain would have been a broken foot or something like that. Like I wouldn't be able to be walking, limping, or whatever. So anyways, I'm actually scheduled to come into work the next day. Okay, so once I get home, I ice my foot and I rest my foot pretty much after this point. And I'm just like, okay, well, we got to figure something out. And at the end of the day, I'm still planning to work tomorrow. Like I don't know what this is, but a twisted ankle usually is going to be better the next day. Go to sleep, wake up for my shift, bro, this thing is not better. Like, honestly, like, woo, hurt, pain, major pain, bro. Anyways, the only thing that could fit my foot in at this point, and usually I think at this point I'm usually not wearing my Jordans to work, but the only thing that fit my foot was my Jordan 1. I have a Band 1, Jordan 1. It was the remake, I think, in 2016, and it was the only thing that could be loose enough to fit my foot, because at this point I'm pretty sure my foot was swollen, and it was the only thing that could fit my foot without having to tie it. So at this point, I keep that on, I leave that on, and I go to work. So I'm at work, I'm working, and I'm like, yo, bro, like, people I think are at this point asking me how I'm doing, because I think they can see me limping. And I'm just like, honestly, bro, I don't know, bro. Like, I don't think I feel too good, bro. I don't know. I thought I was just playing basketball yesterday, bro. I thought I twisted my ankle. So basically, at this point, I'm working in the ICU. In the ICU in the mornings, usually there's X-rays to be taken in the morning. You know, especially if there's intubated patients, we usually check, placement in the morning. Or if they're getting extubated, we're checking, like, how they're doing and all that stuff. So, anyways, the X-ray dude, and shout out to this X-ray dude, because he's the one that came in clutch, right? So I was like, bro, like, I don't know what's going on, bro, but my foot is hurting, bro, and I need a favor, bro. I need someone to take a shot of my X-ray. I needed someone to take an X-ray of my foot, because I need to know what's going on. So I'm like, okay. He's like, bet, let's go. And then he takes the X-ray, and I'm like looking at the X-ray, and I'm pretty decent at looking at an X-ray, and I'm like, I think I'm looking at the specific part of my foot where I'm feeling the most pain, right? So I'm feeling the most pain at a certain part of my foot. I can't remember exactly, but I'm looking on the X-ray, and I'm like, dope, it's not broke. And then I'm like, okay, cool, so what does this mean? Why am I feeling so much pain? And then the X-ray dude, he's like, oh, but look over here. And then we look at a different part, and then it's like, ooh, yo, there's a crack there, and there's a break there, bro. Like, bro, that's a fracture, bro. And I'm like, oh my God, no way, bro. No way. I'm like, it doesn't even hurt there. And I'm just like, what do I do, bro? What do I do? At this point, I knew I had to tell my manager. Told my manager, I'm like, I got this X-ray. I think my foot's broke. She's like, go to the ER. And then I guess in the ER, they take more X-rays. At this point, I'm limping around. I'm getting around, right? But like, it's hurting, bro. It's hurting to walk. And for some reason, like, before you have an actual confirmation of knowing if something is broke or not broke, like, you're getting around easily, right? But not easily. Like, I still limped. It's crazy how the thought about, like, I got all the way up to the second or whatever floor that was I was on, from the parking lot. I'm like, bro, that's mind-blowing, because I traveled all that distance on a broken foot. I actually finished a whole game with a broken foot. And yeah, anyways, so my thought is, go to the ER. We took more X-rays. They confirmed it was broke. They end up putting me on a boot, and I take the boot home, and I'm just like, okay. But at this point, I knew at this job, this was a new job, and anytime I jump into a new full-time, or even if it's a part-time job, and I know that there's benefits, at this point, I usually will always tap in to any short-term or full-term benefits, long-term benefits, because at this point, that's what they provide. So at this point, you tap in, you tap into what they provide, so at this point, when I was already asking HR, I was already asking the third party, what do I have? Like, what can I utilize? What can I tap in? They end up saying I have nothing. And I'm just like, bro, I am so cooked. could just remember, I can remember my feelings, and I'm like, I can even feel it right now, remembering those conversations that I was having, realizing and finding out I have had no coverage whatsoever for long-term or even short-term benefits to cover me to be out of work. And I'm just like, bro, what in the world am I gonna do? So basically I come home. My boss already knows I ain't coming back because I have a fractured foot and I cannot walk, you know. At this point, I can't recall what I do. You know, I can't remember if I come home and I'm just like, bro, I'm cooked. So I'm just like, I'm in this new house, right? The goal was to work more because I was going to cover 2 mortgages basically at that time. And now I have the inability to work and take care of both mortgages. In my head, I'm like, bro, I'm so cooked. But at the same time, I'm just like, I'm trusting in you, God. I'm trusting. And that's why I thank God for Airbnb all the way through, because it was probably a good month or 2 that I had to basically recover. Yeah, 8 weeks, because they told me 6 to 8 weeks before this bone heals. Because basically now I have to go through the whole process, go through the PCP, right? And I still had hope. I was like, maybe I can still get some type of coverage, maybe disability, or I don't know. So I had to go through the PCP, get the whole workup, basically get the consult to orthopedic doctor, right? A doctor, a surgeon, no, the bone doctor, and to tell me like, oh, well, it's gonna take 6 to 8 weeks to recover. By 6 to 8 weeks, you'll be jumping and running again. And I'm like, bet, bro, I'm ready for that because I need to work, you know? So at this point, all I know is that for 6 to 8 weeks, I'm gonna have to lay low and recover because I can't walk, bro. This fracture is starting to swell up. You know, the first 24 hours, for some reason, even at the ER that day, the next day, it wasn't even as swollen as the next days to come. Like, it got even more swollen. And now I had to get on some type of regimen, like putting that major Salon Pass, the icy hot, but the Tiger Balm. There you go, the Tiger Balm. We had to be on the icing routine, also on the ACE wrap routine and the elevation routine. And I'm just like, rice, you know, rest, ice, compress, and elevate. That was me, bro. Like, typical nursing school rice, bro. Like, don't walk. I'm like useless right now. I'm hopping around. They gave me some crutches. They gave me some tiny crutches that don't even fit me because that was the only ones that they had. And so I'm using those crutches. I think eventually they find me that little L scooter that you could use for 1 foot. So I'm traveling now around the house. Mind you, I think I had 3 children at the time. And my wife is mainly doing everything for me. I'm struggling to do anything. I'm struggling to shower. I'm struggling to get in anywhere because this thing is major pain. I'm like, bro, this is insane. I've never felt this type of pain before. I've never broken a bone before. So that was the crazy part. Like, to break a bone, first time ever. To know that I had 2 mortgages. To know that I even had cows to feed, right? So at this point, this is when my wife is taking over now, tossing over the hay. I can't remember. I think we still had the truck. Yeah, we still had the truck at this point, and we were still ending up buying hay, putting it inside the trunk, and then my wife would just toss over the hay over the gate, right? So we had cows at the time. We had 3 cows because they were the pets for my son and daughter that I had bought for one of their birthdays, right? So we had cows to take care of. What else? That was pretty much it. And I could do nothing. I could absolutely do nothing. In a way, I felt very useless, and I really wanted to help, but at the same time, I knew I just honestly couldn't. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful for my wife for stepping up and taking care of me and everybody, and even the cows, you know. So at this point, we're like 6 to 8 weeks in of recovery mode, of rest mode, and I'm like, yo, when is this gonna get better? Because my foot at 6 to 8 weeks, at the time that they told me that I would be running and jumping, was not that. Honestly, it was not even close to me running and jumping. To be honest with you, it honestly even felt like I probably couldn't even actually work. Like I was struggling to walk. But guess what? I had to wrap up my foot. I had to be like, yo, we're going to get into the mindset, because I already had a scheduled follow-up with the orthopedic doctor, right? The one that would technically clear me. And I'm like, hey, doc, so how long do I actually have to wait till I actually go back into work? Well, so I walk into this, to his office, and I'm like, I have to show that I am like 100 times better. I have to show that I can move. I have to show that I could do something. So I strapped that thing up. I had the ace wrap on. The only thing I could fit my foot in, still to this point, with all the swelling, is the Jordan 1s, the band Jordan 1s. So I put my foot in there. I forced it in there. I tied up my shoe tightly and showed the best normal walk that I could. So then the doc is like, oh, how's your foot doing? And I'm like, much better. Can you move it? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like moving it, but I'm like, I can remember it right now, because I'm cringing right now because I can feel it, because I knew it was painful, but I was doing it. I was like, how about your toes? And I'm like moving my toes, and I'm like, bro, okay, all right, last test. Basically, can you stand up? I stand up. Can you squat? I'm like, I squat, bro. And it's like, all right, you're ready to go back to work. And I'm like, yes, right? Yes. But at this point, in my head, I'm just like, bro, this is gonna be rough, bro. Like, I don't think I can do this. But at the end of the day, I need to do this. I need to catch up. The only thing that was keeping us afloat, and that's why I am so thankful for Airbnb, because at this point, every time everything has gone south on the nursing end, Airbnb has been there to come through every single time. Like in this most clutch moment where I was down, like I had no reserves. I'm telling you, we just got into the new property and we just put some money in for the new furnitures, for the TV, stuff like that. I had stuff to pay, bro. Like, oh my goodness. Talk about getting yourself into a financial rut. And for basketball, for a broken bone, of course, you could say right now it wasn't worth it. But at the end of the day, everything is purposeful. And I'm thankful for that. So anyways, the next step is come back to my regular scheduled work, which was, at that hospital. The same hospital that I found out I had no coverages. The same hospital that at least showed me that my broken bone was there. Come back to work, and I'm like, bro, I'm not going to be able to catch up doing this. I'm probably behind like 2 or 3 payments. And I'm probably on time with the new lease, just so that doesn't get stopped. But I'm already now at this point in conversation with him, and thank God it was somebody that I knew. It was actually somebody from high school, and I was like, whoa, the fact that even happened was nice. Like the way that even worked out was nice. So it was someone that knew me from high school. We had good rapport. So I was telling him, updating him with all my story of what had happened. Broke my foot, not working, been out for 6 to 8 weeks. Bro, we're gonna have to actually either think of canceling or something. I didn't have the thought in mind. So coming into work though, I'm like, yo, I'm telling my friends, I'm like, bro, I'm not gonna be able to, this is tough already as is. They're like, yo, are you okay, bro? And then I'm like, yo, I have to do it. I have to work. I think I came into work with the scooter the first day, and they're like, you can't work with the scooter. And I was like, all right, bet. So then I'm like, I stopped coming with the scooter the next day, and I just started walking normally. And I'm like, bro, this is painful, and I don't know. this is tough, man. But financially, I need to work. But at the same time, this is not going to even make me catch up at all doing this. So when I came home, I started looking at travel contracts. At this point, I think before this, I had already hit a San Jose COVID swab contract that actually got cut short, right? After that, COVID swab contract got cut short, ended up getting sent home. But I had found a Brownsville contract that was paying decently well, like only $500 less. At that point, $3,200 a week. And I'm like, bro, that's dope. But that was a little bit post-COVID times. So that contract had already ended. And I can't remember if we ended up going to St. Louis already. And I think we did. Had already gone to St. Louis. So in my head, I'm like, that can be an option. It was always a smooth transition with Aya, and I'm thankful for Aya. Aya Healthcare Agency has also been clutch when I needed it the most. Like, it's always been a smooth process. Like, if I ever had made the decision of like, you know what, I'm gonna travel today and send in that request, I know that if I get any type of offer back or response back, I know I have work, and I know I'm gonna be able to get there. And I know if I show up, I'm going to get paid the next week. So that's what I did. I looked up on Aya Healthcare, and big shout out to Aya Healthcare. I'm going to make this a post because shout out to you, because you all came clutch when I needed it the most. And this was back probably 2023. 2023, my foot was broke. I am struggling to even work at all, period. But at the end of the day, I had to make the decision. I was going to travel again. And this is the beginning, and this is the story of how I end up accepting and requesting this contract, which ends up being the Rochester General contract. And at this point, I was like, what is the highest paying contract for the unit that I could work at? And at that point, I think it was already September, October, or if it wasn't already, it was November. So at that point, I was like, what do I do? I searched up the highest paying. At the time, it was Rochester, New York. And I was like, bro, that sounds dope. And it was like, I really wasn't thinking of it at first, because I think that was like the farthest contract that was available. But it was the highest paying. And then I think there was maybe one that was like $1,000 less, but like half the distance, right? So I ended up talking with my wife, like, what do we do? Like, what do we actually do, right? And her statement was like, if we're gonna travel, then make it New York, and then we'll have snow. We'll have a white Christmas. And I was like, wow, that's actually something to think about. And I was like, one, we're going to catch up with the finances. Two, it's going to be a trip. Like, it's going to be an actual journey, right? All the way over there, with 3 kids. So anyways, we're like, if we're going to go anywhere and we're going to travel, basically we're not really into this travel mindset. We really wanted to stay rooted. We really wanted to stay at home, because that's where both of our families are at. My family's there, my uncles, my whole community, my church community is there. Her parents, her family, her mom is there, her sister. Everybody is home in the valley. And that's why we preferably would like to stay home, But at this point, financially, I was so behind that something needed to be done differently. So we opted to travel. But now was the deciding factor for the location. So where do we decide? I'm like, it makes sense financially. It does sound interesting as a journey. White Christmas was dope. And I think once that kind of set in deeper, like, White Christmas, I'm like, why don't we just send in the request and let's just see what happens. And if it's meant to be, then it's meant to be. So I send in the request. I think, kid you not, same day that we send in the request, I think we get the offer. And I'm like, bro, what do we actually do? Like, we have to make this work. Like, I don't even have enough in the account to be like, yeah, I can make it all the way plus this and this. But at the end of the day, I knew that jumping into the contract was going to get us there, was going to take us back to the catch-up game again, basically. I tell you, it's been on cycles of catching up, taking a break, then playing the catch-up game again. Travel, catch-up game, all of that, over and over. So we take it, and I accept the offer. Shout out to Aya, though. Like, same day, that's insane, bro. And that's the thing, though. Once I found out, arriving in Rochester General, they are like a travel hub, bro. They had, like, for orientation, like, to give you perspective of how much they needed travel nurses in that specific spot. The travel orientation, like, sometimes this is even bigger than regular full-time orientation, bro. The travel orientation had like 50 nurses in the room, bro. Like, I had never experienced that. That's insane. Like, let alone a regular hospital that I've worked at never had like 50 people in there. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just exaggerating a little bit right there. But honestly, that was pretty crazy for me. I was like, yo, why is everyone here? Why is there so much travel opportunity here? This is insane. So at the time, I think the rate was like 3.7, right? And I was like, dope, because I can remember going to California. 3.7 was the number, and 3.7 was in the account. You know, this is like what I'm trying to remember. This is what I'm trying to kind of point out a little bit. So this is where I realized that different states end up taxing differently. You know, even if they put 3.7 in Rochester, New York, anywhere in New York, it doesn't mean 3.7 shows up in the account. So I can clearly remember in California, 3.7 was the number, 3.7 was in the account. So I was like, yo, this is actually gonna look nice if I get 3.7 in the account at New York. But in the first check, I think I can clearly remember it was like $200 to $500 knocked off the 3.7, and I was like, wait a second. I thought I was gonna get 3.7, and I'm following up with the recruiter. They're like, they finally get down into the details. They're like, oh yeah, but it's because of the taxes. And I'm like, bro, you guys didn't say that. You said I'd be taking this home. And I'm just like slightly low-key frustrated, but I'm like, it's all right. We're already here. You know, like, what else could I do? Whew. But at the end of the day, that contract brought us back to good standing. We were caught up within that 3-month contract. Like, yes, granted, it was rough. One, it was a whole travel from South Texas all the way to the east coast of New York, Rochester, New York. And shout out to Rochester, New York, because that was dope. The people, the culture, you know, those are my people, right? So far, everywhere that I've traveled, I will still legit say that they are my people, because at this point, I've enjoyed everywhere that I've gone. Everywhere that I've traveled to is always a feeling of adaptability. Like, how do I fit into this culture of people? Because, like, I'm someone coming from South Texas, right? It was a culture shock, honestly. St. Louis in itself was a major culture shock. So I had an idea that, you know, New York might be different. But at this point, one thing, I'm dealing with my broken foot, and I can't get around quick enough, right? I'm having to show them that I'm normal, and I'm like probably still slow, limping around, and I know I was still feeling pain heading all the way in to Rochester, New York. Fast forward, we're into the contract. You know, at this point, my foot is still hurt, but I wanted to talk about when, because in St. Louis, I felt like, I don't know, like, I don't think I noticed, I noticed a difference, right? But in the hospital, it was still normal. It was like, you know, you still kind of say hi. You still greet each other. You know, you're still normal. Because coming from Texas, I think we're like a friendlier state, especially now coming into Abilene. Like, everyone tries to say hi, right? It's such a normal thing for Texans to just be like, oh, hi. Like, people will literally even try to get in conversation with you at a gas station and be like, oh, hi, where are you from? You know, like, try to get that's what a small town does, you know, because of the fact that, and that's what I realized, a small town is a town that you see each other more than enough times to be like, I need to at least jump into a conversation now with this person, right? Like, I've seen you too many times to not know, one, your name, and not know your story, right? So it's like an interesting thing. I've seen you so many times, so let's have a conversation. That's Texas, right? Abilene, Texas. Everyone has been seeing me at the same Smoothie King, so they eventually had asked me, who are you and where are you from? Like, why are you here? You know, why do you keep coming into this smoothie spot? As if like I just don't have the right to just show up and buy a smoothie every single day, you know? They have to know. And it's not being disrespectful at all. It's kind of like, I think we're kind of curious in Texas. You know, we're like friendly curious at the same time. So I think that's one thing about Texans. So I carried that over. I carried that spirit over into New York, right? So I'm like, in New York, I'm trying to even just get some eye contact while I'm here. And like, that was the first thing that was kind of weird. Like, even eye contact. You don't even eye contact with anybody while you're walking. You don't do that. Like, you don't say hi to people in New York. You don't be like, good morning, hello, good afternoon, how are you, hi there. No, there was none of that. Like, that's what I can clearly remember on my first few days of orientation. And I was just like, okay. I think I can even clearly remember there was one Filipino dude, or at least looked Filipino, or at least looked Asian. And I'm just like, I think I'd seen him from a distance. And you know, from being from Texas, I'm telling you, I was trying to carry over that culture of being like, eye contact, hello, friendly, hi, how are you? So I'm trying to eye contact him. He doesn't eye contact me at all whatsoever. And I can clearly remember trying like, and like, it never happened. Even my whole contract, I don't even think I spoke up. I don't even think I was like, yo bro, like, what's up? Like, are you Filipino? I think that's kind of how shy I was still though at the end of the day. And I was just like, yo bro, like, are you Filipino or not? And then, but it was more like the culture. Like, if you don't work together, it's like, why do I have to talk to you, right? That was the New York culture, I felt like. And that's the one thing that I mentioned to anybody that ends up wanting to travel or even visit New York. For me, I was like, I loved it. I loved New York. It taught me something. It shaped me truly to become who I am today. Like, that cultural experience, like that feeling of like, you don't have to be overly friendly all the time if it's not the culture, right? So the culture was like, what I can put an example to of what it is like in New York is like a horse with blinders on. So a horse with blinders on is very focused. They're focused on the road. They're focused on the trip, right? They're not focused on the left and right. And that's why I was like, man, I'm trying to eye contact this guy, but this guy was just like, he was locked in to whatever he was doing, his work, right? His craft. And he was just locked in, never had said hi once. And I'm just like, okay, bet. And that's what I realized too. I was like, all right, well, you guys are gonna do this non-eye contact thing, so I'm gonna do it too. So I end up doing it too. But then I realized in my unit, they're starting to talk and be friendly. And I'm just like, oh, okay. So it's like, if I talk to you, then you will talk to me. Or like, since we work together, that's already the common denominator of like, oh, okay, we're people now. So it's like, okay, dope. But I'm not saying that it was easy. I'm not saying that everything culturally was smooth. Because coming from Texas, I tell you this, a lot of people complain in Texas, right? Anyone will complain in any unit. I tell you, the same unit dramas occur all over, across the boards, all over the nation, and I'm pretty sure all over the world. You will never escape work drama. And when I say work drama, I'm not talking about like, oh, the show Grey's Anatomy and all that type of stuff drama, but actually more like the work drama of like, oh, this person doesn't want to work, oh, this one doesn't want to work, oh, this other type of stuff, like they're not showing up. No, I'm telling you right now, in Texas, we have it good. In the Valley, everyone does their stuff. Everyone usually comes to work. Maybe every now and then someone calls in, right? But they actually have the decency of calling like way ahead of time and properly following the rules, right? So far here in Abilene, like you notice the difference is like, well, maybe you don't notice the difference because you've only worked in certain spots. But here in Abilene as well, like the techs know what they need to be doing. Whoever trained them has trained them that you don't have to be asked to do anything. This is the set of things that you do, so do them. And if you don't do them, then why aren't you doing them? You know, like very by the book, very like this is the right thing to do, so do it. So, but at the East Coast, man, like in New York, it was like, it felt like the wild, wild west, where it was all, you could do whatever you want. People were basically not showing up to work, no shows on the daily. So that's why they needed all these travels and all this help from other people, because they needed to cover all this, at least at this unit. That was the culture. So basically people were not showing up. But not only that, the people that were there in the unit on the actual floor to work, I'm like, do you mind like checking the blood pressure, right? Or doing something, right? And or bringing something, and they're like refusing, and I'm like, what do you mean no? What do you mean you don't want to? What do you mean? Or like, this is so weird. Like I've never experienced that in my life, where like now I'm having to, I wouldn't say argue, but basically speak my mind as to why they need to do what they got to do. It definitely took me and shifted me into a different like mindset of like, whoa, this is so weird, right? Like this has never happened before, where before, like in Texas, you'd be like, oh, can you check this? They're like, yes, no problem, I'll get it done, right? That's the idea. But no, this was like, why? Can you do this? Why? Why do I have to do that? I just did that. And no, why do I have to check? And then no. Okay, that was the beginning. But over time, they eventually understood who I was and respected me, right? Usually I'm a person that I don't ask for help, or I don't ask for them to do something if I truly don't need help. That's just the kind of person that I am. Like I will literally do everything in my power to do everything without having to ask for help. Once I ask for help, it's because at this point, I think in my head at least, that I have so much to do on my list that I can't even add that little detail to my list. And that's when I'll usually, reach out and be like, hey, please help, So in the beginning, a little bit of pushback, but towards the end, they even used me as a charge nurse a couple of times. And I'm like, bro, I'm the traveler, I'm the traveler. I'm not from here. And I think this was like a 30-bed unit, and this is the first time I think I'm ever actually being charged. But I knew I had the confidence to run as charge, but at the end of the day, this was technically still the first time I'm running as charge. But I'm like, bro, this is dope. This is like a crazy type of responsibility. And also like, but the thing is, I wasn't getting paid enough. I didn't even get a pay raise to charge. I think it was like $1 extra per hour, and I was like, yo, this ain't worth it. Like being responsible for all the patients versus being responsible for only a set of 5 or 6, So, but at the end of the day, it was an amazing experience. It taught me a lot. It taught me a lot as a person, who I was, how to be who I was, how to be strong with who I was, my communication, all of that. So it was all just a really great experience, honestly, just going through that. So, but finishing 3 months of the contract, I felt like tired. I think I was doing 4 a week, so sometimes it'd be long stretches of 6 as well, 7s in a row. What was nice is that was the first time I think I experienced doing like 4 shifts, 4-hour shifts. I was like, yo, this is kind of dope. I've never experienced 4-hour shifts before. So that was nice. Oh my goodness, I just checked and it looks like now it says my arrival is gonna be at 8%. And that's why sometimes I don't trust it. It said it was gonna be 11. It said it was gonna be like in the teens, like 12, 13. In Jesus' name. That's why you don't trust it all the time, bro. That's why, bro. Anyways, let's pray to Jesus that we get there. It's an hour more and 20 minutes before we get into Junction, Texas. Yo, that was a little bit of a risky move. But like I said, I'm trusting my instincts. Maybe I just need to take it lighter on the gas and just chill with it a little bit, you know? So, at the end of the day, learned a lot. Was tired though. Got back financially into good standings, but was tired. And I was like, yo, I don't think... And at this point, we've never done back-to-back contracts, right? This is kind of like our first time actually being out for a full contract. And this was like all the way in the East Coast. And we were kind of getting homesick. We were like, yo, we want to be home. You know, we missed... This was the first time we're missing Christmas. This is the first time we're missing New Year's. I think this is the first time we're missing my birthday, like February. If I can remember now correctly, it was December, January, and February. And possibly even a little bit into March, which would be my wife's birthday as well. So I think we missed like... Those were the first times I missed major holidays, which was really weird because usually I've never missed those things. Like, it's just something, like, I've never missed my family's Christmas or New Year's, and missing it, but being in like a New York space where there's snow was like really cool though at the same time, because I'm like, that's where now I would love to experience Christmas in snow with my family, like my parents, my brother, my sister, my grandma, my uncles and aunts. Like, if we should ever experience, like in the future, if we have the opportunity and the ability to like experience a holiday, which would be Christmas, in a specific spot without having to be financially tied down, like the spot is like anywhere with snow. Christmas in snow, like that's just the place to be. Like, it's cold, you got snow, it just ties in so nicely with your mindset of Christmas. Like, fire, you know, like, you know, when you think of Santa, you see all the movies in Santa, there's a bunch of snow all the time, you know? It was such a vibe. Like, honestly, you can't beat a snowy Christmas vibe. Like, you just can't. So I think basically after that contract, since we were tired, since we were homesick, we traveled back home. And then the thought is always like, catch up with this one contract and then figure it out back home. Like, all right, we're gonna figure this out now. I'm gonna figure now my full-time job again. I'll figure this out. So basically you try that, and I think I jump into like 2 jobs again or something. I can't even remember. But what I do remember, I end up traveling back-to-back years, back-to-back winters, to the same exact spot, back-to-back hospitals. And eventually I'm back there again. Rochester the next year. So I think that was year 2023. So 2024, I'm back in Rochester doing another contract. And I'm like, yo, this is dope. You know, we're back here again. I know the hospital. We're back here for, you know, winter time again. So everything was going well. Everything was going good. So I'm thankful. That's like, and then, that's back to the story. Real quick, we were talking about this only because we were talking about the Jordan 1s and why I show up in Jordan 1s to work. Because I think I got in conversation with one of the nurses while I was at the contract at Rochester, New York, the first times around. I'm like, bro, to tell you the truth, because I think, you know, they know their shoes, right? He was like, yo, those shoes are nice, bro. Like, that's fire. And then I think you would start to see like other people are wearing Jordans as well to work. It wasn't really a common thing. Like, you don't usually see, usually you'll be seeing people wear like Hokas, that on cloud stuff, What else? What else? Bruh. Anyways, those common nursing shoes, like those are the shoes for nursing, or that you work in at the medical field. You wear those types of shoes. No, but this time I was just like, this is the only shoe, I told him, that actually can fit my foot. And at this point, I'm gonna stick to them, bro. Like, I've already put them in the hospital. Mind you, this is, at the time that I bought them, $1,000 pair shoe. Like, yeah, that sounds wild, but it was literally, I tried every single shoe to fit my foot in and to walk, and this was the only shoe that actually fit, that actually worked, and that actually, like, allowed me to walk comfortably with minimal pain, with the least amount of pain, and get through a shift and get through work. So I told them that story, and it's stuck with me ever since. And now that's the only shoe that I wear to work, is my Jordans, my Jordan 1s. And it's the same shoe that I've worn ever since. It's the same shoe that I'm gonna continue to wear. It becomes a story, this is the story about why I wear Jordan 1s to work. I've always been kind of interested, or wanting to possibly even, maybe I can start thinking of buying the next pair, but I'm like, yo, why would I need to buy the next pair right now when I could literally use these up? And the Jordan 1s always look so much cooler when they've been used up. They call them beaters, like, yo, use these up till they're beaters. But I'm already feeling that there's some spots that are like, the crease. And the only thing that I think that might make me buy another pair is if the sole starts just disattaching from the shoe. And that's definitely going to have to make me purchase another shoe. But at the end of the day, that's my story about why I wear Jordan 1s to work as a travel nurse. Let's go. We made it once again, bruh. Woo! Let's go. That's alright. Let's go, bro. I'm gonna save one for my wifey. Low-key, I'm contemplating whether I should just eat the mango peach pie here, because every time I choose to eat it at home, it also ends up becoming just like not the same, not fresh. But let's go, bro. You know it's about to go off. So we're here at Jollibee, one of my favorite go-tos stops in Texas, on my way home from my nursing contract. Fire. Thank you, Lord, for this food. Bless this food. In Jesus' name, amen. So maybe for y'all that don't really know what this place is, this is Jollibee, a classic Filipino restaurant. Maybe more like a fast food chain, but prices is not really like a fast food chain because it's kind of a little bit more on the expensive end. But I think the way that I like to think about it is like if you think about celebration time in Philippines, this is where you would be taking like your family, like to celebrate. You would take them to go for a Jollibee and celebrate their birthday, so it's a little bit more pricey, more of like a celebratory type of meal, rather than thinking like, oh, an everyday fast food choice. That's kind of what I think about it. So, but I love the food. It's got that sweet spaghetti, which is my favorite. Even my wife's side of the family makes a style of this sweet spaghetti, which is fire. And the classic chicken. So that's what pretty much they're known for, is their fried chicken and their sweet spaghetti. Very good. Very crunchy. They used to have like these other options, which I'm not sure why they went away with. Which is actually a good question if I ever get involved. Not involved, I think a better word is I don't know what the word is, but if I ever get included in the space, the marketing space or content creating space, I would like to ask why they went away with that breakfast option. Even several other dishes, like just rice dishes, kind of like that classic breakfast, tapsilog. They kind of simplified and stuck to the classic spaghetti or palabok. Just not a bad idea. I'm just saying, I kind of was looking for it before, but Now it's like all I can think about is just ordering this. It's become a staple for me every time coming home. So, ended up receiving word that they did not extend my contract. Dun dun dun. I ain't worried though. What I like to say, quoting from my song, I ain't worried at all. I ain't worried at all. I ain't worried at all. So there. Sorry, I'm just enjoying this. But like I said, I'm not worried about the contract not extending. I don't even want to say anything at all about the facility. So I'm just hopeful for whatever next opportunity God has in front. I think that's what I said in the, I'm not even surprised, I told the recruiter. I think I had a feeling like this week, like if I don't hear from them soon, I was already looking at other places this beginning of the week. So I told the recruiter, I'm not even surprised actually. I think I'm actually about to finish this gravy. So far, a couple of places that I've looked at is Kerrville, Texas, which is actually much closer. Which we actually already sent in the request for. I've seen Lufkin, Texas, or Lufkin, Texas. I'm not sure how to say that one. I've seen Fort Worth, Texas. Boom. Yo, I killed it. I killed it. Oh, yeah. So good. So good. I'm gonna go ahead and opt to eat the pie right now, so that we can actually get that on footage too. Boom. Yeah, for sure. Every time I wait to eat this at home, not the same crunch. Not the same freshness. So good. Let's leave that there. I'll be back.